is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at feature cryptography. This module just got recently released as of the time of this recording, which is January 26th, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be figuring out, essentially a sort of cryptography. So, one of the things I like to do with cryptography immediately right off the bat is I like to note down the characters, the amount of characters in each of the words. That's kind of the normal way that people do it. So it's going to be in this case, the glyphs represent 3, 6, 3, 2, 3, 3, 5, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, and the last one's going to be a 7, okay? And we're going to be using all these different characters, and we need to find a part in a text, which is kind of normal with what you do with cryptography. However, there are a couple catches that we need to address that are different from this module, and of course resemble speaking evil material. So, immediately right off the bat, as you can see, a lot of this resembles, for those of you who know IPA, this is resembling a lot with IPA. This is going to deal with a lot of linguistic stuff, but I'm actually going to make this a little bit easier and not explain what each of these places or manners mean, or whether it's voiced or not. I'm going to essentially do a little bit of a different method that we just figured, that me and Luminosity Tim figured out yesterday, to essentially do this module and make it easier on you guys. So, now, taking a look at these glyphs, the top half of the glyph denotes the place of articulation, like here. So for example, this top half would represent whenever the lights come back on. So for example, the top half would represent would represent something like this guy right here. On the module we have on the left side here, now, from what I've seen, the left side is always going to be the top. The middle here is always going to be essentially this middle part. It's only going to consist of 3 things: this circle, these 2 curved arcs, which are important, and this horizontal line. As you can see, it cycles back. And this part is going to be consistent of the bottom part. Now, the top half of the glyph we said denotes the articulation, the place of articulation, all of these guys up in the column here. And the bottom half of the glyph denotes the manner of articulation, here. And finally, it denotes, and the curved arcs at the center of the glyph denote the voicing, or if the voice, if the present, it's voiced if present, and voiceless if absent. So if this guy is present, it's going to be voiced. If this guy is absent, it's going to be not voiced. And then finally, the bottom half would look something like, I guess I would call that one a hat, almost. Like you, right there. And that is essentially what we're going to be looking at. That's sort of that like symbol. It's how you're going to build it. Now, what exactly is your goal with this module? So, what our goal is we need to find a missing word, because one of the words in the text is missing from the excerpt. Use the rotors to select features and press the plus button to combine features into a glyph and append it to the entry. And pressing the minus button will remove the last glyph from the entry. The missing word will always consist of 3 to 8 phonemes, and once the entry consists of 3 or more glyphs, the submit button can be pressed. If the submit entry matches the phonetic spelling of the missing word, the module will solve. So, now, this part is probably the least fun part of this module because of how long it takes, and essentially looking for a needle in a haystack. So, essentially what we need to do is we need to take a look at the phonetic side, because the glyphs are converted into phonetic alphabet, and the vowels are down here as well, by the way. They have a little bit of a different way how they work. Top half denotes backness, bottom half denotes height, and the curved arc denotes whether they are long or short. And one important thing also, vowels and consonants have no features in common, and note that the mapping from glyph halves to place manners, to place manners, backness, and length, etc., is random for each module's instance. So there is no essential way of figuring out what the label symbol is, what the dental symbol is for each different module, because each time it's going to be different. So that's going to be how we're going to have to figure out this module, and that's to make this module so tricky, because there is no guarantee for what label will look like. There's no guarantee for what the voice will look like, well, except for the curved arcs, of course. There is no guarantee for what the approximate will look like, and there is no guarantee for any of the vowels involved. There is no guarantee for what each of the glyphs are going to look like. We essentially have to use essentially what we're going to have to use is we're going to have to use clues given by each of the glyphs here. And this is kind of where the interaction with the module is going to be very important. So, immediately right off the bat, one of the things I would like to note down is each of the 3s, as we can see here on this left side, are the exact same letter, are the exact same symbols. So that means that we're going to have a series of duplicate letters, or duplicate words rather. Quite a few of them, you find. So, that's going to be one thing that we're going to be noting down. That's going to be helpful for us. So, we can note that down, and essentially what we have to do is we have to find a portion of the text on the phonetic side in this long part here. And one last thing before we get into the whole depth of it, there is the possibility that it could be in the middle of a sentence, there is the possibility of it could be in the middle of a paragraph, and there is also the possibility that the paragraph can essentially end, and the text will still keep going on to the next paragraph. That's kind of the way that this works. These paragraphs are just kind of here to help you like space things out, and they are just to essentially keep the original in place. That's kind of what they're here for. So that's what makes this module a little bit interesting. It can go off of a paragraph and onto a new one, just like that. Now, let's take a look and let's see if we can figure out the phonetic part here. So, a good spot would actually be starting at those 3s and the 6 immediately afterwards, and figuring out if we can have, if we can figure out if these 3s together, if we can figure out some of these characters that are the exact same. So let's see if we can figure out if we can find something here. So, let's find a 6. That'll be a good starting point, and we can figure things out. Because the 3 and the 3 between the 6 are the exact same, of course, there is the possibility that the missing word could be between this 3 or that 3 or anywhere really. So let's take a look. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be have to be a 3 afterwards. Nope. Alright, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a pause here, and I'm going to essentially find the portion of the text. I'm going to explain how this works. So I will be back when I find that portion of said text. Okay, after looking around for a little bit, I have found the word. I found the excerpt rather. So now taking a look here. One of the things that I immediately did was I actually used that context clue, and I figured out which one happens to occur the most. And I happened to look up and. And happens to occur quite a few times here. So we have the and, scrimmed and, which actually works because we have a 3, a 6, and a 3. And then immediately after we have 2, 3. And then we have, but hold on a second, that does not make sense. The 2 and the 3 should immediately have another and afterward here. But this is where this part comes into play. This black, as you can see here, is a 4-letter word, which you do not have between the 2, 3, 3, and then immediately the 5 afterward. This means that this is the word that we need to submit into the module. So let's copy this down. Let's copy the phonetic version of it down, and this is what we're essentially going to try and figure out how to submit to this module. Now, here's where this part comes into play, and I actually quite like this part. The fact that you have to essentially, you have to convert these guys from phonetic into the glyphs again, which we need to figure out using a couple clues here. So we can use this module to figure out the top and bottom halves of the glyphs and the curved arcs. Now, what I tend to do is I actually tend to start off and see if we have any duplicate characters that are part of the actual message of which we had it. Note that it began at and we and scrimmed right here, not with the laugh. So we can't use that lemma for us beforehand. However, we can most definitely use the alpha to our advantage. Absolutely, we can. And the kilo as well. As for the lemma and the bravo, it looks like we're going to have to go a little bit deeper into that. I'm not seeing a lemma and a bravo anywhere else, so that means we're going to have to do a little bit more of a step. So, for now, let's take a look at the alpha and the kilo. So the alpha immediately is the first character of the word that we got, which we actually have already figured out here. It's going to be like this. I guess I would call it the middle tower. Now, of course, describing this to your expert is totally fair game with how you want to describe this. Or maybe I'll call this one like the whiskey, perhaps. Then we can do the dash, and then we can do I guess I'd call this one the, perhaps the pot, I guess? I don't know. Just something that makes it distinct enough for the expert to understand, or the diffuser to understand. So yeah, so we have the A right there. That's going to be corresponding to this A right here. So that is good. That character is already figured out. Now for the kilo can be used as the second character of this 6-letter word that we had, which is going to be this guy right here. So what we can do is immediately, I'm not seeing any curves for that Oscar that we have here, or that sort of zero-ish in the middle, so that means it's just going to be a normal line. And what we can do is we can use the top half is like an open box, for example. Like here, open box. And the bottom half, I guess sort of looks like a, almost like a cross at the bottom of it. Let's see if we can find that. Oh, just like that, right here. I'll call this one the Tango Cross. And just like that, we already have 2 of our characters figured out. Now, of course, this could be nice for us to figure out all of our characters. But now, here's where I kind of use the top table here to our advantage. So, let's find Lima on this table here, and let's see if we can figure out any of the other characters which could be corresponding to each of these places and each of these manners. So, immediately right off the bat, it is a voiced character. So, if the curved arcs are present at the center of the glyph denoting the voicing, voiced if it's going to be present, so that already means that we need to use these curved guys as part of this Lima. I'm going to note that down as these 2 guys, but we need to figure out where the alveolar and the approximate manner are. So for the top half, let's figure out if we can figure out any of these characters are present in the part of the excerpt. So let's figure that out. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to build the glyphs off of characters that we've already determined that are in the same group as the character that we need to get to, and we can do the same thing with the manner. So if we can find a Romeo perhaps, and if we can find like a delta, that would be really, really good for us. So let's scroll back down to where we were. So can we get a Romeo? Yes, we can. So Romeo we need to use as the manner. The manner we said was the bottom half of the glyph. So we need to use the bottom half of the glyph for the approximant, or the Lima. So we said the Romeo was going to be the 3rd character in the 6-letter word. So the bottom half here, it looks like it might be in India right there. It looks like it might be in India. So let's take a look here. So yeah, that would work. Yeah, so the India would be for the bottom half. So that would be what we would mark. And another observation that I'm actually making here is that the voiced represents the Oscar instead. So we actually might want to note down as the Oscar because of the fact that the vowels and consonants have no features in common. So what this means is that one of the characters is going to be essentially using the curved arcs, and one of them is going to be using the circle. So that's kind of the way that we have to distinct them. So let's see here. So this probably means that instead of using the curved arcs, we're going to be using the Oscar since the Lima is not a vowel. And then finally, we need to figure out the alveolar section. We figured out the bottom half, which was the Romeo here, as you can see right there. It's in India, and I don't think that there is anything else that looks quite like that. Yeah, because that would be the Tango. That wouldn't work. Because we need something at that bottom half, so it's got to be the India. That's perfect. Now, let's take a look at alveolar. See if we can find a Delta, November, Tango, perhaps. There's got to be a Tango or Sierra in there, definitely. Oh, Sierra, perfect. So Sierra is going to be the 1st character of that 6-letter word. So that'll work right there. So that's got to be this one right here. So it's the bottom half that we're looking for. Or excuse me, the top half that we're looking for as the articulation right here, the place, rather. So we need to take a look at that. That looks sort of like an Oscar or a box. That actually looks like a complete box right there. And just like that, that symbol is actually present. So this is going to be the box. Alright, so now we need to determine Bravo. We've determined Lima already because that was right down here. We need to determine Bravo. So we need to get label present. We need to get the voice present, which we said, I believe, because it wasn't a vowel. We need to get that into the into a vowel or into voice rather. So that's going to be probably the Oscar again for the center. Excuse me. Now for label, let's see if we can find a Mike, a Victor, a Papa, or a Foxtrot anywhere in our sequence. There's gotta be one. Mike, we can use the Mike, definitely. So Mike is going to be the 5th character of the 6th letter of the second word that you gave us, so that'll be the 6th. And remember, we're looking for the place right now, so this is going to be corresponding to the top half of the glyph. So let's take a look here. So that is going to be right there. And note that the voice does match the circle that we got beforehand, so that actually does work for us. And this top half is a little bit of an interesting one. It might be sort of like an upside-down pie, perhaps? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at our options for the top half. It's a pretty thin one. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be an upside-down pie, almost. Since those lines, since I believe the bottom half, it looks like it'll be this guy right here. It essentially is these two guys together, and what that works. Just make sure we can actually press this into the module and submit it. Note that looks the exact same, and that's perfect. So that's actually kind of a way that we can confirm it, because we can go back and forth with the plus and the minus, is we can create our own symbols, and then what we can do is we can essentially get rid of it and take it back to the glyph. So let's take a look. So that's got to be the upside down pie for that one. So let's do upside down pie for the label. Let's do upside pie. And then finally for the manner, we need to figure out if we can get a Papa, a Tango Delta. Can we get a Tango perhaps? That would be nice. Tango, can we get a Tango? Oh, we can do empty, yeah. So, of the 5-letter word that you gave us, we need to figure out the 4th character. And now we're using the manner, remember? So the manner is going to be the bottom half of the glyph. So let's find it. The Tango, the 5-letter word, empty, the fourth part, is going to be right here. The bottom half, it appears to be that same Tango cross that we had beforehand, which Kilo also happens to be in plosive, so that actually does match up. So that's going to be a Tango with the cross. And now we have all of our characters that are going to be corresponding to each of the glyphs. So let's start submitting these guys into the module. So we have the upside down pie, the Tango with the cross, and the Oscar in the center. There we go. That should work. Okay. Next up we have the box. The box, the Oscar, and the India. Like so. Okay. Next up we have the whiskey, sort of like the 2 towers right here. The dash, and the pot. Pot right there. And finally we have open box, or the uniform, the dash, and the Tango cross again. And now that we have everything submitted into the module, let's hit submit and see if we're right. And just like that, black is what our answer was. The phonetic alphabet doesn't exactly spell the original English version, British version, British. It doesn't spell it the exact same because the phonetic is a little bit weird, but it converted it to the original English word, and just like that, we had a solved module. So let's go over one more example, and I hope that that makes sense, because this is a very tricky module to essentially do and describe, but personally, I enjoy it a little bit. It's just that first little step that is a little bit annoying and tedious, because you have to basically look through a needle in a haystack. So let's go over one more example, and let's see if we can get this done. But it's essentially what you have to do is you have to just sort of build off of the resources that are given to you on the module, because you don't know exactly what each of these glyphs mean from the start. You don't even know what they mean because they're always going to be randomized. So let's take a look at what we have here. So we have 3, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3, 5, 3, and 4. This one's going to be a little bit more annoying. So let's start looking. And let's see if we can find any duplicate words at all. It does not appear to be much that we can get from it. You can duplicate letters, but that's not really going to help us if we don't know what we're looking for. Yeah, I'm not seeing much. Yeah, okay. So let's just start looking, and I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to be right back. Alright, after a long searching around for that one. That one actually took me a while to find. We have found the word. We found the excerpt where we begin. So we're going to begin at dat will ever speak, whatever it says. So, now this part is kind of where things get a little bit interesting that are sort of rare cases that can pop up. That actually hasn't. This one happened today as well. Whereas, as you can see, we start with 3, 3, and then we go into 4. Now, we also start with 3, 3, but there's also another 3 here, and it goes into another 4. This case is where we have to figure out which word we're actually looking at here that is missing. Because we have 3 3s, we have 3 3s that are together here. However, we essentially need to figure out how we can get to the 4 safely, because if we happen to start at the will, it would be 3, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3, 5, 3, 4. Note that there is no missing words there, and what this means is that we actually start at dat, the sort of weird backward tango with the X at the top. This is actually where we start right here. So we need to figure out which one of these 3 is actually the one that's missing. And one of the key concepts that I've used here, that we can use, is we can actually take a look at the characters here in the actual sentence. And note that there are a lot of the exact same characters that correspond to the dat case. The first letter in this case being right there. Now if we go over to the second 2 after the 5, it's the exact same character. So we know for a fact that dat is not the missing word that we have here. Now we need to figure out if it's between will or the eve, essentially. Now, one thing that we can do here is we can potentially take a look at the India here, this little India, and note that the India by itself, the lowercase India that you have that's in the English alphabet, is different from this India that we're looking at in the will right here. So, if the second character matches the 5th character in the 5-letter word, which it does, this means that will is present, so we're looking at Eve right here. And this is essentially what we need to submit into the module, right there. So, we need to submit Eve into the module. Let's see if we can use any context clues, and let's see if we can figure out if we have all of our characters present, which we actually do. So we have the Euro, I guess the backwards echo right here, or the normal echo, but it's sort of scrunched together and make it look like a backwards 3. We have that present in the dia, right there. The Victor we have present in the av, right there, the AV, the upside down A and the V right there. And we have this upside down lowercase echo present in the next character with the first character that we had here. So as we can see, we have all of our letters present to us. That's perfect for us. So let's take a look and let's figure out what each of our characters look like. So we have, after the 4, we have the 3-letter word, which corresponds, and we need to use the second character in that. So we have the 4, which should become after the 2, 2. Yep, that makes sense. And then we have the 3, which corresponds to the symbol right here. So that is what we need to use for this. So we have sort of the top being the helmet, the middle being the dash, and the bottom part, I guess I would describe this. It's not the dynamite stick that I like to call it. It's a bit more complicated. It's like this. I'll call this one the 3 dynamite. That's what I call it. Like I call it, because it's sort of like the stick to like pull like a Wild West movie that would sort of trigger the dynamite. That's kind of the way that I would describe that one. Next up, the Victor. The Victor is going to be coming after the 5-letter word. It is going to be this. Is going to be the 2-letter word, and it's going to be that second character. So it'll be this one right here. Because we have the 5-letter word, and then we have this guy right here. So it's going to be the, it appears it's going to be the circle in the middle, so it's going to be the Oscar. And then we have sort of the open box on the top. Open box on the top, and then we have sort of the November on the bottom. Like so. And that seems to check out. And finally, for the upside down echo, so after that 2-letter word, it's going to be the second character in the other 2-letter word right here. So let's take a look here. Looking at the right off the bat, it's going to be a minus sign at the dead center. There's no curves at all. That's perfect. Then at the top, we sort of have like an upside down boomstick. upside down dynamite stick right there. Okay. Upside dynamite. Okay. And then for the bottom, this one's actually the 3 dynamite. Now, let's make sure of that. Dynamite. And one way that we can do that is we notice that the echo, let's take a look at both the echoes. They both have the 3 dynamite at the bottom. If we go up to the vowels, they should be in sort of the same manner, or the height rather. It denotes the height. And just like that, they are both in mid. That is perfect. That is what we want. And they both have the dashes, which represent short. They're both the exact same length, which is going to be short, because they both do not have the arcs in the center of the grid. That is perfect. That is what we want. And just like that, we have our answer. So let's submit it to the module. Let's submit helmet, because we're submitting the echo first, which was, if we go down here, it was this, it was the, because after the 4-letter word, it was this guy right here. Flip that of helmet. Then we have the dash, and then we have the 3 dynamite there, right here. So now let's hit plus. And then next up, it just matches the exact same characters. We have open box right here. We have the O, and then we have the dash. Excuse me, the lever rather. Plug that into the module. Okay, that matches what we had beforehand. And we have the upside down dynamite right here, and then we have the dash, and then we have the 3-stick dynamite at the bottom. Let's hit submit. And just like that, my friends, is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.